Growing up in the streets of London, I've seen some pretty dark things. From stories of drug abuse and sexual violence to gang culture and suicide. Most of these issues remain a taboo within the Muslim community, but I want to explore these issues, how they affect Muslims, and what we can do to change them. According to an article in The Guardian and the charity Shelter UK, in 2018 there were 320,000 people recorded homeless. That means 1 in 200 people are registered homeless today. That is set to increase every year by 4%, meaning a further 13,000 people are set to be homeless. And that doesn't account for the 50,000 people said to be in B&Bs. I want to find out from Muslim charities and food drives what work they are doing for those who are homeless, and at the same time, what is the reality facing people who are homeless today in the UK. When I was 16, I ran away from home. I was homeless for a short period of time. However, I was lucky. I was fortunate because my friends took me in and gave me a place to stay. Over time, I repaired my relationship with my family and returned home. However, I could easily have been one of those young people out there on the streets, a homeless statistic today. If it wasn't for those circumstances which benefited me, I could have easily been homeless and one of those people who I've passed many a time before on the streets. So we have arrived here now in Birmingham city centre, and I'm outside the As-Sufa Centre, a homeless provision and food drive which has been operating for the last 5 years. It operates every day within Ramadan, and it operates 4 times a week outside of Ramadan in 8 different cities around the country. So I want to find out, what is it that makes these volunteers want to engage with the homeless? And at the same time as that, what can we do as a community to help eradicate the problem within the country?
We believe that, the best of people are those who benefit mankind. We saw the need in the community, and as such, because of that need, the outreach was born. And we thought, at first we just started with the homelessness, because we saw that there was a huge rise in number of people begging on the street. So we thought we have to do something about this. And alhamdulillah, what started out with a group of 4 or 5 brothers going out into the Birmingham city centres with hot teas and coffees and just general snacks is today what you see here 6 years later, alhamdulillah. Generally speaking, the reasons are very, very mixed. Different people have different circumstances, from living in a bad home, living in a bad situation, financial troubles, drug troubles, gambling issues. So you can't really say the reason for the rise of homelessness is due to any one thing. With the cuts in everything that's been going on, from services from the council and various government agencies, including changes in benefits. For example, now people moving from normal benefits to the universal credit, they can experience anything between 8 to 12 weeks of wait before they get their benefits. And in the meantime, what do? They can't pay their rent, they can't afford to pay for food, they can't afford, even if they work, most of them, it will not carry them over. So we've seen that rise. When you take a moment to speak to a homeless person, you realize that you're talking to someone who could be exactly like you, or who was in a situation that you're in today. So we've got people that attend our soup kitchens all over the country, that are lawyers, that have been accountants, have been teachers, and it just so happened to be that they've gone through a bad patch in their life that's ended up with them being homeless. So the stereotypes is something that we want to deal with by raising awareness. That's the only way to educate the community that homelessness, for the majority of the time, is not a choice. It's a change in circumstance, and often the person does not know what to do from how to get themselves out of that situation.
We give them respect as well when they come in here. We don't judge them. We give them a bit of dignity, respect. They're away from the public gaze. Yeah. They're being handed out food in front of public.
How important do you think that is?
I think that's very important, especially for their dignity, and then they'll come and sit down. And it's not just feeding. We don't just feed them. We'll actually sit and talk to them, Because you know, a lot of them, they will come in, they probably wouldn't have spoken to anybody all day. They would have been on their own in their little corner, wherever they get what they do.
Yeah, yeah.
And we sit down, we'll talk to them, we'll let them open up. One day it could be me.
True.
It could happen to anybody. From the people I've seen, it can happen to anybody at any time, and I would like somebody to be there for me.
I've been homeless for the last 10 years. I've been living on the streets for 10 years. Wow. Divorced. I got divorced. My wife took everything. Really? I lived on the streets. I didn't have nothing. It's not the lazy homeless people, it's the situation they've been pushed in. I mean, if you get kicked out of your house, you can't find a hostel just like that. You know, it's not easy to just... So if you're kicked out right now, what would your initial reaction be? You'd have to find somewhere to stay tonight, wouldn't you? If you can't find a hostel and you've got a sleeping bag, you will sleep in the park. You're going to have to sleep in the park.
You're going to have to, yeah. No. What is your circumstance now then in regards to coming to the As-Sufa Centre?
I've got a hostel. Right. I've got a hostel. I'm going to go back into education. I do voluntary work.
Excellent, excellent.
I sing in the choir.
Excellent, excellent.
So I'm busy.
And as the As-Sufa Centre, have they had a part in helping you in that regard?
They're brilliant, the As-Sufa. They've helped us.
Having spoken to a few of the other brothers who have come tonight, it seems like everyone's got a different story. And I know that we're talking to you about how you're actually in education at the moment. You're in college?
In college, yeah. I graduated in July. I'm an ex-addict, so I was on heroin and crack for about 4 or 5 years, but I took a lot of drugs as a kid. Right. Both my parents were heroin addicts. My mum was homeless and stuff like that. She used to busk and that sort of thing. So I ended up in the care system.
Okay.
And then obviously I did the hostels and then ended up being an addict myself.
So you think substance abuse is one of the major issues which leads to homelessness?
I'd say it's the main issue.
Really?
Yeah. Gambling's an addiction. Like marital breakdowns because of like infidelity and that sort of thing. That can be an addiction. So addictions as a whole, coming here and people saying here, look, you can do this college course and pushing me kind of towards it has made me want to do it. It's given me self-confidence. Just self-confidence in myself.
So do you think a lot of people on the street are lacking self-confidence and self-worth? Is that one of the biggest issues?
Yeah, because it's when people walk past you and they just give you dirty looks or whatever, and do you know what I mean? And I understand that they've got their own lives and it's not their problem, as do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it still wouldn't hurt just to be polite. If you can't afford to give them money or food or anything, just at least say,
just be nice.
Hello, are you okay? Yeah, rather than
acknowledge somebody.
Looking down on them. It could be you. It could so easily be you.
Having been to Birmingham and having seen the work As-Sufa Centre have done, we wanted to see what other Muslim charities around the country are doing also. So we've come to Charing Cross to check out Who Is the Same, an organisation which has gone viral. They've featured on so many news outlets because of the amazing work they're doing. And we also wanted to know from them what more can be done in regards to the situation of homelessness.
Is an organisation. We come together to embed and to pass on the values of Imam Hussein. We believe that the values that Imam Hussein taught us, that we should be inspiring others and passing them back into the society that we live today. Alhamdulillah, we're blessed with like a certain skill set. We all have good jobs. We all got money in our pockets. We have family to talk to. And the main reason why I come here to Who's Hussein is to talk to the guests and to empower them. We feed them food, but we're the companion for them to talk to. Often people walk past them and look down at them, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to empower them, trying to give back to them and trying to help them.
When I first actually joined, I thought the same mentality as everyone else. You know, they're just a bunch of people who are just wasting their time, who are there because their circumstances didn't take them there, their decisions took them there. If someone loses their job, can't pay their rent, all of a sudden they're on the streets, and then it just one step after the other and after the other. They just need a helping hand. So whenever we're down, for example, in our own personal lives, sometimes people around us who love us the most will realise that they're down, they need a bit of support.
For me, I'm looking for better life. I want to get some wife, and I want to be happy.
What is it like as a Muslim day to day, being homeless then on the streets?
Well, before homelessness, I used to have loads of friends, even the Muslim friends. And after I became homeless, all the Muslim friends whom I used to turn Muslim, they disassociated with me. So I lost all my friends.
Why, if you don't mind me asking?
I think maybe they feel like they might be getting in trouble, or I don't know. But like before, we used to hang out in Nando's. We used to eat together. We used to go for a bowling together. And sometimes my Muslim friends, they used to invite me to sleep over in the house. But after I became homeless, like they never asked me to whether you would like to come to our house for food. Nothing.
I find that quite shocking, considering that, according to Islam, one of the first things we're supposed to do is look after those in need, right? The miskin. The Prophet would help his neighbors 40 doors either side. So how do you feel then when your Muslim friends and community almost reject you like that?
I feel more devastated and shattered, and as if like whole world is against me at that moment of time. And yeah, I was left alone, and sometimes my Muslim friend, they said, "Why you're wasting your time here? You should go back to your country."
How did your health cope and things like that?
I was just following the sunnah of our Prophet Muhammad. So sometimes I bump into my Christian friends, and they say, "What can I help you?" And I ask them, "Well, you know what? Give me some dates," and that's will be enough for me.
I say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give it to me everything. Okay. If it's not we deciding, we want to everything. Tomorrow we wake up, we want everything.
That's true.
Yeah, house, car, wife. I say, Allah is gonna help me. Nobody else.
So having visited some Muslim charities and food drives and spoken to the volunteers and workers there and the people who visit those services, the homeless people themselves, I now am going to experience what it's like by putting myself in their very shoes and sleeping rough on the streets of London tonight. In order to do that, I'm going to speak to a brother Neil, who's going to advise me on what it's going to be like to sleep out on these streets, and at the same time as that, to find out what great work he does in helping the homeless today in the UK.
Every year we come out and do, just after Muharram, we do the 72 for 72 challenge, which we spend 72 hours in the name of each martyr of Karbala, and we really experience what it's like to be oppressed in the 7th richest country in the world. We joined the 2,500 people in Westminster, the 8,000 people in London, and the over 300,000 people in the UK that sleep like this every single night.
The council, the local authorities don't like the fact that food is being handed out, and they ask you to move on a lot of the time. Why is that?
It's not just the councils, it's the big charities as well, because they feel that we are helping them to stay out. We're giving them the supply of food and the sustenance that they need to stay out on the streets. What they don't want is them to be clogging up central London, the main tourist area, the money-making industry, the city, if you like, where money flows. They want to clean up this area to make it look like it's all nice and nice. I have a friend called Dave. Dave I met a couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago, when I was sleeping out. And he's just a normal person like me and you. He had a family, he had one child, he was married, and he had another baby on the way. When the baby was born, it came out stillborn, right? And the wife couldn't take it, she couldn't hack it emotionally, and she just had a nervous breakdown. She went into an institution, and that was left Dave with his 5-year-old son, right? So then he's fending for his kid on his own, trying to survive, like you would, right? Naturally, a single parent, working all the hours that God sends. It goes on for about 4 or 5 years. One day he picks the kid up from the childminder or whatever, and he's driving home. The next thing he remembers, he's in hospital. The next thing he remembers, he's in hospital. What had happened, the nurses told him that his sugar level had dropped so much that he blanked out, and he crashed into a tree. But not only he crashed into a tree, his son went through the windscreen and he killed his son. This is a homeless person that people call him a drunk. Yeah, why should we be helping people like that? He then went into depression and came out on the street. He was out on the streets for 13 years. 13 years, bro. He tried to jump into the Thames, right? This guy was so humane to us when we were doing our this was the first time we were doing our sleep out. He followed us around, right? When we were praying Salah, he stood over us and made sure nobody bothered us. So how dare anybody tell me that he's a drunk or he's an alcoholic? That's a normal human being. That can happen to me and that can happen to you.
Having conducted the interviews, having gone to the food drives, having spoken to the people themselves, we've learned a lot about the issue of homelessness in the UK. But right now, I'm in Central. I'm about to go get changed. I'm about to wash up because this is it for me. It's the last opportunity before I go bed down for the night, and I'm literally out here on my own. Let's do it, guys.
Oh yeah, man, that's what I need.
Wicked. I'm looking for somewhere to sleep for the night. Now, the advice I've been given was basically to find somewhere out of the way, not near the homeless community, because you don't want to steal one of their spots. Because obviously, sought after spots, decent spots where they're warm, sheltered, and out of the way, obviously are like, you know, a rarity. But you see people already, they're down, bedded, they've got their spots already. So yeah, I just don't want to step on any toes. So I'm trying to find a specific area, which I've been given a heads up on, that's quite decent for what I'm looking for. Oh, what's this? What's this? Dunstan's Court, baby, EC4. Yeah, this is my home. You see there's like a bike shack here. So obviously people come to work at some stage. I'm thinking through all these different ways here, right? So I'm gonna have to bed down over there, I think. I suppose it's going to hit me in a few hours that I'm truly alone, when the dead of the night comes and, you know, there's literally no sound and I'm here on my own. But yeah, I suppose other than that, man, I just got to get down and see if I can get some sleep. I'm literally going to do this authentically, so I know we've been filming, thus I've had a cameraman with me this whole time, but he's going to leave now, so I'm literally going to de-mic myself, hand him the mic, and you're going to see him go, and I'm going to stay.
Peace and love. Love you, bro.
Love you, bro. So basically, I've just woke up. It's 3:20 in the morning. It's freezing when I put my glove back on because my hand is cold. As you can see in the background, it's pretty dead and quiet. I found a decent spot where I'm sleeping. But yeah, like, it's just freezing, man, like, and people walk by and, like, keep disrupting my sleep as well. I can't even get this glove on, for God's sake, man, it's freezing, man. And at the same time, I really need to go to the bathroom now, like, I tried not to drink too much water and, like, drinks and stuff, but it's just so cold earlier on as well, like, they're, like, I was fortunate to have actually got given a tea by somebody who walked by. I was just so cold, like, and it was yeah, just maybe a bad decision. It's absolutely freezing right now, man. My teeth, like, if you hear it, like, they're chattering. So I'm gonna try and get back into my sleeping bag really quick. It's just freezing cold, man. Man, this is such an ordeal. I've only got 2 hours sleep. I'm so tired. I'm just thinking about my day ahead. Oh man, it's so cold right now already, man. I just want warmth. I just want to be, like, you know, in a bed, next to a radiator, with like a cup of hot chocolate or something. Like, oh man, it's freezing.
I'm shattered. I'm shattered. You're fully awoke because of the cold. Like, my teeth were chattering at one stage. People walk by, like, you know, like in the background I could hear like on, like, you know, people are working like through the course of the evening, because like central London doesn't really sleep. It's just crazy, like, to think, you know, we have so much security in our homes, and you know, like you know, we have so much comfort, and out here, you know, you're literally just with the elements, you're on your own, and to think people live like this on a daily basis. Like right now, all I'm looking forward to is getting indoors, getting inside, like, and having like a warm cup of coffee, and like, you know, having a shower, you know, and sitting in my living room, you know. That's what I'm thinking about, you know. Well, how are you going to motivate yourself to go get a job and go live your life and stuff if this is the kind of, like, you know, situation you're in on a daily basis? When you're by yourself at night time, like, what you end up thinking about, I suppose, is what are other people in your life, I suppose, doing, in terms of your family, your friends, you know, people back home, you know. So in a weird way, I can understand how someone would dwell on issues if they had issues, because again, as I say, like, you know, when you're here, you feel almost detached from your previous life. Family was the first thought I kept thinking about. Family and friends, like just people who love ones and close ones to me. You know, what are they doing right now? Where are they right now? You know, and at the same time as that, you know, because the element of loneliness just is amplified, you know, by the fact that, as I say, you know, you're literally out here on your own. I can imagine how quickly you would be forgotten about as well, because of the fact that, as I say, you know, people have got to live their lives. Nobody really stopped, nobody woke me up, nobody actually acknowledged me, nobody kind of like spoke to me. So yeah, it's quite easy to just be forgotten about at the same time, if you understand what I mean. It's just very apparent that, you know, yeah, you're just out here on your own, basically. Everyone's quite in their own kind of world, it feels almost like, you know, I'm sitting there on the side of the street and I'm watching people go by, and a lot of faces just head down, you know, in their phones, or like, you know, just power walking to wherever they need to get to, and yeah, as I say, you feel quite insignificant in a way, because you don't have any purpose as such or anything. You're just sitting there, and again, you're not really being acknowledged by anybody. People were opening up banks just behind me, like, you know, shops were opening. You're seeing people go into, like, you know, coffee shops to you know, to open them up for, you know, the day and whatnot, like, and again, obviously all the movement of the cars and, you know, the street cleaners and everything else, like, everything's happening, everything's going on around me, but as I say, I'm not really a part of it though either.
So having slept rough myself now, two things come to mind. Number one, half the battle is just facing the elements. This country's cold, it's wet, and so it's extremely difficult to be out here on these streets. The second thing though is how difficult it is emotionally, how lonely people feel. And as a result of that, I understand why they find a community of homeless people and bind themselves to it, because those seem to be the only people who care. Throughout this documentary, what I've learned is that we're not that different from one another, and it can happen to anybody. In light of that, what are the solutions? Well, according to the Labour government and Jeremy Corbyn, if they come into power, they promise to immediately buy thousands of houses for the homeless. And at the same time as that, they promise to allow local councils the power to seize any houses that are vacant, hoping that that will eradicate the problem. Let's hope that that does transpire. And on an individual level, I would hope that people do not ignore the issue. Whilst they are very grateful for the contributions that we give, let's give them our time as well though. let's notice them as human beings, because as I said, they're no different from you and I. But it also reminds me of a powerful statement made to me by Neil, which has stuck in my head ever since.
We need to do more as society, right? That's one thing that needs to definitely happen, because too many people ignore the problem, right? If you turn your face away from it, you're not addressing what's going on because you're embarrassed to help that society. We need to do more. Human beings need to do more. We need to be more humane.
Do you think the Muslim community is doing enough?
No way, man. Not in the slightest. I go and ask a centre, can I go and speak for a campaign that I'm running? They'll give me a 5-minute slot after Yasin's been read and there's 6 people in the centre, because it's not taken seriously enough.
Why?
I don't know. I don't understand it.
Do you think it's an element
because
of
I've come to this religion maybe 8 years ago or whatever, and the first thing I got from this was help people. We should be helping people. How can I hear stories about Imam Ali that would go out in the dead of night and put grain on his back and go and feed people? So should I not be walking in their footsteps and acting the same way as them?
Wow, what a powerful statement there from Neil. Maybe, just maybe, if we could each be a little bit more like Neil, then we could eradicate the situation of homelessness in the UK.